We are back with Weaponized. This is episode 16. I'm with my co-host, Soul Kiwami. How you doing, Soul?
Yo, another week building up to Switch 2 Summer Game Fest. Feels like the
Oh
calm
my
before the
god.
storm right now.
It is. It is, dude. And what's crazy is that something has had a resurgence that I didn't expect. Um
Right.
from a franchise that I do love and I hate simultaneously, but I feel like that's every Star Wars fan. We just go through the motions. Battlefront 2 is getting a lot of press right now, and a lot of people are playing it. I overheard that there's possibly over 200,000 people playing it. I'm not sure where they're getting these numbers from. I know that based on what we can see, Steam shows the highest concurrent player count that we've had pretty much ever, which is insane to think that 10,000 was the highest player count on Steam. But I understand that the game wasn't initially on Steam when it released. So, as far as I'm aware, so it's not really that surprising. Battlefront 2, I've been playing it, dude. I forgot how freaking fun that game is, dude. Like now that I'm playing it with the homies and we're just like, jumped in. I'm like, Roger, Roger, like I'm using the battle droid, the BX, I think the ninja one with the vibro sword, and he's like just so cool. And he has this like little his special is that he can like see through walls. He's like scanning for targets, and it's like the voice is like super deep. And I just always like to imitate the characters that I'm playing. I don't know. I get really into it. So
It's a
like,
very
I
immersive
was in this
shooter.
one match. It's so good, bro. Dice is the goat. Dice is the goat, and we'll talk about Battlefield later. Whatever we're allowed to talk about. But bro, I was doing this one Galactic Assault, and you go from the ground to the ship, and then you're breaking through, and then you got to destroy the reactors, right?
Right.
And if you fail, or if basically if you don't do a complete onslaught on the team from control to destroying the reactors, like you have to do it all in one go. If you can't do it all in one go, then you got to roll it back, and so the match will be like 3 or 4 hours of you going back and forth with the same opponent, right? And I was spending like 3 or 4 hours like a couple nights ago on Battlefront 2, going back and forth and back and forth. And eventually we got down to like 30 seconds, and literally the reactor needed like one peck of HP. I'm playing I'm a Final Fantasy Kingdom Hearts guy, the way I said the HP. I don't It had one peck of health, bro, and we were just like trying to get in, and like all these freaking just like clones are just coming out of the freaking wood, dude, and they're just like do 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 do, and eventually we got it, bro. It was crazy, but after 3 or 4 hours, we like won, and it just felt crazy. I mean, I haven't felt that in like any, dude. I haven't felt that in any battle royale.
Yeah,
Like no shade,
yeah, dude.
never.
Battlefront 2 is very chaotic, especially in Galactic Assault, because it's basically a huge tug of war, and it can last for
Yeah,
yeah, matches can last for
that's
hours. Like I
exactly what it is.
remember when I consistently played this, like back in like 2019 or so. When the
Mm-hmm.
Celebration Edition came out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we would just be stuck in matches for hours, and people would drop in and out of the match. And
Yeah, because people
dude,
are just
like,
like, dang, this is not stopping.
yeah, like it's not stopping at all. And there were times where like the matches would just draw because it would just go on forever and ever, and eventually there wouldn't be enough people to sort of support that match, so it would just end in a
Right.
stalemate. But this resurgence is really interesting, and it comes, sort of before the next Battlefield game comes out, which is, been a big talking point from EA for the past, I'd say like a few months. But
Yeah.
going back to Battlefront 2, um, I haven't had a chance to play it recently, but I have been taking, sort of notes of how this resurgence came to be, and I
I'm
think it
curious.
was,
I'm very curious.
I think it was just a perfect storm of a lot of factors. Of course, we had May the 4th, you know,
Mm-hmm.
big
Of
day
course.
for Star Wars fans. We had
Every year.
we had the series finale of Andor not that long ago,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like there's a fever for Star Wars stuff, especially since we're getting, like Andor was obviously very, very good, and it
Yeah,
went
that was
viral.
impressively good. Yeah, that's a viral show. That's like the Breaking Bad level, like Better Call Saul
Yeah,
level, like
it
television
was
for
it was
Star
peak
Wars.
cinema, like the way it ended, just
Mm-hmm.
leading right into Rogue One, and honestly, it just felt
Rogue
like,
One is also really good.
yeah, dude, it's really good. Honestly, like the ending of that, and then we also had the re-release of Episode 3, so it just felt like
Mm-hmm.
what people, the things that people enjoyed from Star Wars, it just kind of came to a head, and a lot of people
Yeah,
wanted to return to Battlefront 2, and
it's the
I
ultimate
think,
celebration.
yeah, this was brewing. More and more people came to the game over the the following weeks in May, and it sort of just built up to this week. It reached around.
Yeah,
I think it reached around like 4K, 5K, um, by this past weekend, and then
yeah,
there
it
was
hit
just,
10K. It actually beat its concurrent
yeah,
now.
which is crazy. Um, a
Yeah,
game doing that
it's
like
insane.
8 years after it came out is wild.
With no sales and like no, I mean, no like obvious like sales or no updates or anything. Just like straight like raw rebellion.
Yeah,
Just
it's just
rebellion.
like a community movement. Like a lot of things came together, and honestly, like I noticed this a few days ago. I started seeing more and more people, comment about we want Battlefield or Battlefront 3, um, all over the place. Like even in the latest Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer, like if you go deep in there, there's people asking for Battlefront 3 in the comments of that trailer. Like it's just
Yeah,
some sort of movement that fans have sort of rallied behind to
yeah,
get as much attention on the Battlefront series as a whole, and that's sort of what came to this moment where there's more than 10K people playing this game, like on Steam alone. Who knows how much it is on consoles?
yeah. We have no idea. Obviously, or EA's launcher and Epic Games had it for free for a minute, so we really don't know. The total player count is possibly way higher than we even can imagine. Based on how much hype there actually is,
Right. I also saw
it's insane.
like Steam keys on sale for like $6. Like it's just
Yeah,
so
I
there's so
mean,
many factors that go into this resurgence. But
right.
I even saw it on Reddit
Hmm.
how there's just people rallying behind May 24th. Like we have to get as many people playing Battlefront 2 for this weekend, and that also took off. I've seen a lot of people just be like, "Hey, are you going to be there for Battlefront 2?" And it's just a big community movement that came together because of excitement around Star Wars, people getting what they wanted from Star Wars from Andor, and yeah, just this is the result. And
Yeah, when we get fed.
yeah, well, we had to go back. We had to indulge in our favorite meal as a Star Wars fan,
Exactly.
and you know, something could come out of this. I just think that if it does, it won't be for a while because Battlefield
It's gonna take a
6.
hot minute.
Yeah, Battlefield 6 is
Exactly.
the focus, and that's been in the works for a number of years, and that has the biggest development team that the Battlefield franchise has ever seen. I don't think they'll spare any sort of resources right now to sort of get a Battlefront 3 off the ground, even like a sort of
Right.
like concept or pre-production sort of thing. Um, but I do think it will come eventually, and especially now that
Yeah.
things like Andor have finished up, and there's just so much to pick from the overarching Star Wars universe now. Because again, Battlefront 2 came out 8 years ago, and so much has
It's
happened
oh my
since then.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of Star Wars that has happened since then, regardless of if you like it or not. There's a lot of canon to talk about. There's a lot that has been added, even in a show like The Alkalite, where we have Darth Plagueis. It's like
Ooh, yeah.
there's stuff that, even in people's least favorite projects, there's something to talk about. You know, I remember how sick Ahsoka was when, Anakin showed up and he's like, doing his crazy
Yeah,
walk
I remember that.
and, he just flashes his Vader. I mean, we talked about it actually. I think we talked about it. I remember talking to you about that, in fact, um, and how sick that was. I think that was you.
Yeah,
So
because I was
I think I literally pulled that up.
I was pretty big on Kenobi and Ahsoka when those were airing, and
Yeah, no, I think we were all talking about that. I remember the group chat, like
yeah,
you, Noah, and I. I remember talking to Noah too about it. I remember we were watching that. I um I remember when the original, and I want to talk about Battlefield a little bit,
right.
but to kind of conclude on Battlefront, I remember when the original Battlefront 2 was like the most insane game ever. I mean,
Oh my
I
God.
was playing the hell out of that game. I mean, seriously, I have no other word to say, to describe how much I was playing it. And I remember there was, a Battlefield 3, that, or sorry, Battlefront 2. There was a Battlefront 3 that we never ended up
Yeah,
getting,
the canceled one.
right? From the original, exactly, from the original team, from the original Battlefront games, right? So this would be like, this would just bring it all together because we've always kind of like had to be like, oh, Battlefront 2, the new one, you
Mm,
know, and not the old one because, you have Battlefront 2 Classic, right? And you have Battlefront 2 EA. If we had a Battlefront 3, you know, there'd be no need to make that distinction because it'd be the only one.
right.
And it would just be, we'd be in, it'd be full circle, you know, like we never got Battlefront 3 and now we're getting it after all these years. That would be incredible, obviously. But, Star Wars fans, like, while we've been disappointed and while we've been excited and it's been a back and forth thing for us, Andor was incredible. It was viral, it was huge. And hopefully, Lucasfilm, looks at the fan base, looks at what we enjoy. We like the mature stories. We want more mature plot, more mature. Like we're grown, dude. Star Wars fans are old. I mean, the franchise came out a very long time ago, right? I don't expect something like Pokemon to do the same thing that Star Wars is doing, or like what Digimon does.
Right.
If you've ever played like Cyber Sleuth, I mean, especially Hacker's Memory, those games get into some serious topics, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they don't like shy away from talking about things that really only adults are talking about, right? So it's like, you know, me pushing 30, I'm thinking like, man, what do I really want to consume? And while I like stuff like, Pokemon and, I like going back and reminiscing on old stuff that I used to do, dog, I want something new, refreshing, and I want something mature. Andor brought that to the table. I think, people are, I think they need to kind of gather the general opinion of what I mean, here's the thing. As a Star Wars fan, I know what is missing. I know what I want, right? I remember I used to consume, the Legends content. I remember, uh The Force Unleashed, Star Killer. I remember, KOTOR. I remember, the MMO, the cutscene movies, you know what I'm saying, like that were on YouTube and just like rewatching them and like just remembering kind of like, and I want to say, yeah, it was a little messy, like because there was way too many different people writing Star Wars,
Right.
and back in the day it wasn't, there wasn't like a really concrete canon, but I feel like we do still need the High Republic to be explored. Even though we had one show and it was a failure, that's really the writers, and the directors. That's on them, because there's still, if you look at the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, right? Or if you look at, Andor, look at some of the Star Wars content that we've gotten that's really, really, really good, right? We can have really good Star Wars content. It just has to be managed well, you know? Like it has to be managed well. We need good managers, good directors. We need people to actually be there that care, that are going to give us what we want. And Battlefront 3 needs to have Mace Windu. Like it needs to have like a bunch of characters, bro. There's so many new characters like Balin, and we don't even have Ahsoka in Battlefront at all, which I understand she didn't have a live action version at the time, and now she does. So it's about time for her to get in a Battlefront game. But like, dude, imagine the times that you played Lego Star Wars and you were like playing with like all these random Jedi that died in like 2 seconds, like in the Clone Wars, like Plo Koon, right? Like you're just like, there's so many characters and none of them are in Battlefront 2. And I get it, like it's a bunch of people to model, but just imagine, like they don't even have to have voice acting. Just put them in the game. Just give us the option. Make it to where when we, are picking a character, on the screen, like with our points, with our battle points, that it's like some freaking crazy like Smash Brothers Ultimate Fighting game screen. Like it needs to be like something like Marvel versus Capcom, where we're just like, oh my god, like, there's so many characters on screen. Like that's what it needs to be. Like just a huge selection of characters. And I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe we
Yeah,
shouldn't do
I
that.
I still think, when you mention Mace Windu, I get flashbacks to the
Yeah.
original Battlefront 2. I thought the roster in that game was just, it was perfect for that time. I had
Oh
like
yeah, they had it.
I had no problems with the original Battlefront 2 and just how that game was set up. That I forgot the name of the mode, but you remember that mode where it was,
Galactic Conquest.
yes, that one where you could go.
You didn't even have to mention it.
Yeah, dude.
You're
Oh
like,
my,
remember that mode?
that mode
I
was,
can already hear you like trying to hold yourself together.
dude, that mode, like I spent so many hours just trying to conquer
Hundreds.
planets. Yeah, and it
Dude, I
was
used to invite my
bliss.
neighbors over to play it with me. Oh
It
my
was
god.
bliss. Yeah, my
Oh,
friends would come over, after school, like on Fridays, to play that for on the PS2, and man, we
it's
would
so
spend so,
simple and so effective.
yeah, and if they were to make a Battlefront 3, that a sort of mode like that would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
That's the
it's like
one thing I
you're
miss
playing a
from the old
story.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, you get to kind of like,
kind of make your own
body
story.
bag planets and make your own story.
Yeah.
Like it's sick. You have the battles in space, and then it's kind of like, it's like in a big Dynasty Warriors battle, you have the morale, especially in the new Dynasty Warriors where it really, really, really matters, and it's really, really, really hard.
Right.
It was like that. You have, all these characters, and, you have the blue team and the red team, and you have numbers, especially if you're just doing like a straight up death match. Like these points are decreasing. You're going mano a mano with the AI, and you're fighting over the freaking galaxy. Like,
No, literally.
and so there's no mode like that, dude. We literally, no game has anything that crazy for like single player content. Just like that is one of the best single player modes since, like, I mean, what's the last thing that I played that was really good? Subspace Emissary. Like,
Yeah,
I
mode in that
mean,
similar
thinking about,
vein. Yeah, it's
yeah, where it's
hard to
just
think
like
of
really good.
it's hard to think of an equivalent mode in any modern
There's not.
games. Yeah.
Mm, there's really not. It's kind of sad, and I thought Sparking Zero was going to be that game. When I remember Tenkaichi 3 having so much stuff to do.
Mm.
Remember that one mode where you would like level up your character, and you were like, it was in Tenkaichi 3, and you're like leveling up your character, and you're like fighting enemies, and like you have to sleep, and you have to manage your like, you have to manage like working out, and you get to fly to different locations and get, certain abilities and senzu beans or whatever. I forgot exactly how it
I'm
goes.
pretty sure that was in
It's funny because I didn't
Tenkaichi
play it that long
2,
ago.
right? Because I think,
It's in Tenkaichi 3.
yeah, I remember
Um,
that mode mostly from Tenkaichi 2. That was like the more RPG-ish
it was.
game,
It was,
because
yeah.
that was like integrated into like the single player like main mode of Tenkaichi 2. which I really
Right.
really enjoyed.
This was called um what was this called? Sim Dragon.
Mm,
Sim Dragon is what it's called. Sim Dragon BT3. Yep, Sim Dragon is exactly what this is because it's like a simulator.
yeah.
This was in Tenkaichi 3. So you had, Sim Dragon, you had Mission 100, you had Survival. And those were the part of the those were in the ultimate battle like game mode like menu. I remember Sim Dragon. I remember how difficult it was and like how I never ever beat it. I didn't even know if there was an end to it because it was like I died in like the first 3 like rounds. Cause you're like trying to you ever played Fight Night?
Yes. That was
Do you remember like your character getting really old and like you couldn't like,
a
do anything with him
yeah.
anymore?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like this is what Sim Dragon reminds me of
Right.
basically is like, you're trying to balance out like, maybe I worked out too much or like and you're kind of choosing a character and you're building them up and after you run out of days, you have to fight the next major boss, enemy and then you go back and then it kind of repeats.
Yeah.
Um
Thinking about it
I thought
now,
Tenkaichi
thinking about it
yeah,
now,
go
it's
ahead.
like so many games don't have these sorts of modes anymore, or it's something you
They're
have
all
to,
relying on multiplayer.
yeah, or it's something you have to wait on, post launch. It's like a bonus sort of thing. Like
It sucks,
Tenkaichi
dude.
3 and the old Battlefront 2 just had so much content like right from the get-go.
Dude, I want to talk about the degradation of Storm's single player.
Oh my,
Like the
don't even get me
degradation.
started.
Do you remember Storm 1 had literally a game to play? Like and then
Yeah, because
over
that was coming
time,
off the heels of the original Ultimate Ninja series.
oh my god. Oh, I'm
That was
gonna
like
rip my hair
that was
out.
like that series' like bread and butter. Like
No,
Storm
it doesn't know
1
about that peak.
like Storm 1 had it,
Doesn't know
right?
about
Like
that.
Storm 1 was like the
Yes.
transition. It was like the last like great things we had from that original series, and then
Mm-hmm.
it sort of morphed into, the spectacle that CyberConnect 2 games are now and have
Oh,
continued to
I
be.
know. And Demon Slayer kind of has a little bit of that juice, but it's not really, you know, to the same degree of, it's I feel like Naruto Storm 1 was kind of campy and silly and, oh, I'm jumping around Konoha and I'm, doing cool little cute Banjo-Kazooie type things, like Demon Slayer's not really like that. You don't have that same kind of like PS2-ish, early 360-ish gameplay
Right.
that really made those games really comfy and those sofa type single player games that just happen to have multiplayer.
Hmm.
Now we've kind of got into this, realm of we've gotten into this realm of just hey, dude, this is why I can't play most fighting games. I'm so sorry. And I know like,
Oh, I'm a big
oh my god,
lapsed
like
fighting game sort of guy now. Like I
dude,
keep up with fighting games, but I'm not really like out going out of my way to play them really anymore. Like there's just something missing
yeah,
now.
I want single player modes. I don't always want to get online and go crazy and be competitive. Saurus in his Doom review said it perfectly about Eternal
Right.
because I love Eternal, but it's the same exact thing. This applies to fighting games,
Mm.
right? Is that in Eternal you are constantly jumping and flying everywhere and like trying to dodge stuff and you're shooting and like it's just you can't have any moment of calm in that game. And so like if you want to just play a calm game, you can't do that when you're playing Doom Eternal. And like so Dark Ages to him was an improvement. Dark Ages was an improvement over Eternal because he could sit down and just play it casually. I'm not saying every single game should be casual, but if I'm playing a fighting game, like you're telling me the only thing I can do is stress myself out, like like I paid $60-$70 to stress myself out because like after I beat Tekken 8, what was there to do but
You're
hop
supposed to
online?
enjoy the cycle of hopping online, sucking, having to lap for a
Yeah,
long
getting
time.
whooped.
Yeah, just
Yeah, getting whooped.
it's yeah, it gets kind of draining. And
I'm not afraid to admit it, bro. I'm not afraid to admit it. I hate hopping online and getting whooped, and then I stop playing for like a couple months, and then I get whooped again. Like I'm not gonna sit there and grind and grind and grind and learn how to play these games, bro. Like I want to play the single player modes, bro. Super Smash Brothers Brawl, Ultimate has it too, bro. Ultimate, World of Light. I did a lot of World of Light. I used to watch the no what is the stuff in World of Light called where like, like it powers your character up. Um where like people would do runs without any like buffs at
Oh,
all
like the
and they just jump
spirits?
into World of
The
Light.
spirits?
The
Yeah.
spirits, yeah, the spirits. I used to watch that stuff all the time because it was super interesting because without spirits, those fights can be impossibly difficult.
Yes.
Just
They
like,
they become
there's
absolutely ridiculously difficult. Like you would have
yeah.
to figure out like sort of like spirit builds to get like the right bonuses and
Hmm.
things to finish off certain bosses. And
Yeah, and I don't think World of Light is as good as Subspace Emissary, even in the slightest, but it gave us something to do. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and that's
I don't know. It's
we can even tie this back into a Battlefront 3. Like I know
mhm.
Battlefront 2 had like a campaign and everything, and but that game, it was still multiplayer focused, and I think it's because yeah, that is a strength of the Battlefront series. Really good,
Mhm.
really good multiplayer modes, and just a variety of vehicles and factions, heroes, villains, so on and so forth. But if there is a Battlefront 3, it would go a long way to introduce that sort of like galactic conquest mode or just other things to do. I feel like
Yeah.
harkening back to the series roots would go a super long way and would just make that game blow up insanely well
I
while still
agree.
having that sort of evergreen multiplayer content that will keep coming back. That'll keep people coming back for like 8 years later, like Battlefront 2 is right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because Battlefront 2 really only has, besides the story mode, and it does have some co-op stuff, honestly. It actually does have some stuff to do outside of the multiplayer, but like to the degree of like the original Battlefront 2, like no, it
Yeah, it
doesn't.
doesn't it doesn't
The
come
original
close.
Battlefront 2's yeah, Galactic Conquest is not a mode that they've created yet in any other multiplayer game. It's pretty much what we're getting at. And of course, in fighting games, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse with single player content and stuff to do that isn't just, playing the same exact game, but it feels like you're playing a fake version of multiplayer. Like how Tekken 8 has that one like weird story mode thing that they have, like, but it's like you're going from arcade to arcade in different cities.
Right.
Like, I don't know what that is. That's just so weird. Like, it's just like that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for like some sort of like multiplayer simulation. If I wanted to play the multiplayer, I would just play the multiplayer. I don't want to play pretend, right? What I want, and this is my issue with Sparking Zero, the worst, you know, content of any Dragon Ball game that I've ever played. I mean, just honestly, like the story mode is really, really, really cheeks, right? And they thought we were gonna use that AI like cutscene maker thing. It's mid, bro. Like I don't know. It's just like not. I don't care about the cutscene maker thing. Like I thought it was cool, or like the your custom battle maker. I thought that was cool before the game came out. But when the game came out, I literally never did anything with it.
Yeah, it was
Like
it's a
I didn't
whole
even touch it.
perception thing, because
Hmm.
before launch we thought, oh, this game is gonna have like all the in-depth story mode we wanted. We already knew about what
Dude, yeah.
ifs. We already saw this sort of custom battle maker thing, and we're like, oh, this is a really cool bonus to what we already are expecting to have in the game. But then when the game comes out, yeah, it's like super great and it has really great moments and stuff. But you
Hmm.
know, when you take a step back and see the whole picture, it's like, how come there's, how come we haven't had a new stage yet? Like, like why isn't
That's
there?
just flabbergasting to me.
Like, how are we getting Daima content but no stage?
Yeah,
Why?
where's the
Why is the
big
story
stage that
mode?
they fight?
Yeah, like why is the story mode also like still kind of lackluster. Like, why isn't more uh, added to make this better?
I knew they made that game way too quick. Bro, they made that game way too quick, honestly.
Yeah,
Cuz like they shouldn't have been able to make a game that big, that fast. It's obvious that something was messed up in the cycle of it all. Like there was, they wanted to get that game out so quick, and I don't know why, because it would have sold massively no matter when it came out. Like I don't know why they could have honestly I could have waited a year. I could have waited a year for that game to come out. Like if they
yeah,
delayed that game like a whole year, I could have waited. I really could, because that story mode is really really mediocre. Like, bro, when we were watching those trailers, you and I, we were like, bro, dude, they really have it to where like if you do something different will happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, Goku will go Super Saiyan against Grade 8 Vegeta.
or
Like,
dude,
no way.
or
You know what I'm
even like
saying?
after the game came out, when we found out about Gohan Black, that was
Oh yeah, that was
that was
like
insane. Like that was
that was
viral. That
sick.
was viral for like a good month because it was just like, wow, like they can't believe they actually did this. Like that was like
Yeah,
really,
we had always
really
theorized something like that in the Dragon Ball community.
like that was really good what if that they pulled off. But again, like
That's the only
those,
one that's really glaring to me,
yeah, like the
honestly.
moments are kind of fewer and farther between. And honestly, like looking at it in like 2015 or 2025, um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a Switch 2 version coming out that's apparently a complete edition.
Okay.
And I'm just like, if they did wait, they could have just released it on, everything and like had it been more fleshed out. I feel like that would have been the game people wanted when we got it back
Yeah,
in October,
but now it's like hovering around 1,000 concurrent on Steam,
which is sad.
which is just like really sad
Yeah, this is supposed to be
because
a Budokai Tenkaichi game. Like
yeah,
people are supposed to be spending so much more time in that game than they are right now.
we used to spend hundreds of hours, bro. Hundreds of hours, thousands of hours. I am guaranteeing on the Lord, and I know I might be, inflating it in my head because I was a kid,
Mhm.
but I'm guaranteeing on like somebody's grave, right? That I've put over 1,000 hours in Tenkaichi 3. And I definitely put over 1,000 hours in one save file of Pokemon Emerald, deleted it, and did it again. I remember doing that. I used to be a crazy kid because I used to bring my Game Boy Advance everywhere. And I come home, bro, because I was doing Bushido. People are like, what do you mean you were doing Bushido? Like, isn't that like weapons? I said, yeah, I used to go to a Japanese weapons like class when I was like a kid.
Right.
And I went there for many, many years. And we learned how to use so many Japanese weapons, and they used to whoop you if you would pronounce the names incorrectly of the weapons. Like if you said nunchucks instead of nunchaku, like you'd get whooped, dude. Like literally you'd get whooped. You start bleeding.
Yeah, man, they got
Go to your mom, be like, why did I just get punched in the face by the
they
sensei?
got to teach you discipline, man.
Like, it's all about discipline, even pronunciations. So my parents, right? This is how I got into Naruto and Dragon Ball. Was that my parents were seeing like and I don't know why they put me in Japanese weapons class. They just thought it would help me with my ADHD because they were always trying to find like a way to like ram it. They thought they could fix it. You know what I'm saying? My parents are very religious Catholic, people,
Right.
and they thought that they could go the alternative route and not use medication. So they're like, okay, let's take our kid to some Japanese Bushido thing, and like it was really really expensive, right? They took me I went twice a week, right? I think like Tuesday and Thursday, and I did it for many many years, right?
Mm.
And it was insane because I learned a lot. I like got a lot of discipline, but that forced me into like the Japanese side of things because I was already playing Kingdom Hearts and already playing Nintendo. Americans, like especially our age and our generation, a lot of us have experienced Japanese media in one way or another. But how it like integrated into my actual life was my parents were like shopping for games for me, and they came home and they're like Ultimate Ninja 4, right? They had bought Ultimate Ninja 4 for me, and they were like, this looks like the Japanese karate thing that you do. And like, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is cool. Thanks. Like, yeah. And then my mom, when did Tenkaichi 3 come out? Like '07?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
oh 07.
'07. Bro, my mom in like '08 had brought home that like, black black label, green background Tenkaichi 3 game. Like she had just brought it home. She had bought it for me. And she said, "Look, a game that, don't you like this series?" Like I'm like, "What is this?" I had Tenkaichi 1. My cousin had Tenkaichi 2 on the Wii, and I love Tenkaichi 2 to death. Oh my god. Incredible game. Super underrated. Honestly, one of the best Dragon Ball games of all time. It's up there with Tenkaichi 3 to me, I think.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
not neck
absolutely.
and neck, but they're the single player stuff in Tenkaichi 2 reminds me of like Budokai 3, you know.
Yes.
Did you ever play Boo's Fury or like any of the Legacy of Goku games?
I actually didn't, because I
Damn.
didn't. I had a Game Boy Advance, but I never spent too much time with it. It was around the late 2003 going to 2004. So I had a Game Boy Advance, but it was like on its way out. So
Right.
making way for the
I
PSP.
think the PSP was goaded.
Yeah.
I think Legacy of Goku 1 and 2 are a little overrated, but Boo's Fury is actually insane. Like I think if you played bro, if you played Boo's Fury today, that would probably blow your mind.
Oh, well,
Like,
I've seen like gameplay and things of it,
dude,
like retrospectives.
it's
It's a really cool game.
it's really cool. Like, I mean, it's like really cool. Going around Orange City, like doing the movies. Like, it had some of the movies in it, which
Yeah.
was so sick.
It was
Like, or flying around the map.
it's almost like a prototype of what Kakarot eventually became.
It was, yeah. But I enjoyed Boost Fury a lot more than I
Yeah.
enjoyed Kakarot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because Boost Fury was way more of an RPG, like way more of an RPG.
Oh yeah.
Like every little item and everything like in that game felt like it really mattered.
Right.
And when Kakarot, when I first heard about Project Z, right, I thought that game was gonna be like Boost Fury, right? But like three-dimensional, next generation, what I'm saying, gorgeous voice acting, the whole entire thing, right? The whole shebang. And I was very disappointed by the final result because it wasn't difficult. It wasn't a hard game. Like there was nothing that I felt like, the RPG mechanics, like the reason why RPGs are fun is because you have to strategize, right? And you don't
Yes.
need to strategize around a game that's not hard, you know?
Right.
Like if the game's not hard and you don't have any roadblocks, what's the point of going back and grinding? What's the point of getting specific items? Oh, in Elden Ring, you're like, oh, bro, I heard about this thing that makes Mog a little easier. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's things in the game where you're playing Elden Ring where you're like, bro, this item does this, and this item will help me with this guy. Or I can't beat this boss right now. I got to go do these things first.
Right.
Right. Or like, I need to take some time off. There's other things in the game I need to do. Kakarot never does that. It just,
It's kind of
go
weird
ahead.
too because Kakarot came out like right after Xenoverse 2, like a couple years
Right.
after. So it's like we already had this sort of like Phantasy Star Online sort of Dragon Ball game.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
Oh, yeah. And Xenoverse 2 is still alive.
yeah, it's like an online RPG. And it had
Hmm.
more actually good RPG sort of, elements, whereas Kakarot just felt kind of more of the same. Just it had
It's
more,
flashy.
yeah, it was more flashy. It had sort of that slower style of RPG progression where you have a lot of
Yeah.
things to do in between the bigger moments. But other than that, it wasn't really because origin when I saw Project Z get announced, I was thinking, oh, is this like an actual RPG? Like, are we gonna be like in charge of making these sort of like set pieces happen in like Dragon Ball battles? Like, are we actually going to
Oh
be
my
able to
god.
like? Yeah, that's what I was thinking at that time. So when I saw what
Oh my
Kakarot
god.
actually was, I was like, wow. So it's just more. It's just more of the same.
More of the same thing. Yeah. Bro, like that's crazy, man. Just to think about that that could have been what it was and it wasn't. Like what they made is to me not an enjoyable game to play. You know, like even when it looks really good and you know it sounds really good, like the soundtrack is like very forgettable. You know, the voice acting is above average, of course, it's Dragon Ball,
Yeah.
right? But it's like otherwise, there's no reason for me to recommend that game to anybody that hasn't seen the anime, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some games like with Storm where I can be like, yo, you could go play Storm and probably not watch the anime, right?
Hmm.
Because there's times in Storm where it's interpreting the content better than the anime. And I'm not being funny.
Oh,
Like there
dude.
are times in Storm where it's really interpreting the content better.
I grew up playing those games and watching the anime at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like
I'm sure you remember.
When Storm 2 came out, that was like revolutionary because we got the end of the pain arc before the anime like had it out, which was big
Yeah.
because dude, it's so weird seeing that whole arc play out while it's like not even animated. And
Yeah, and they killed it, bro.
yeah,
CyberConnect.
yeah, that was to me that was the peak of their work on the series because it was just so good. It streamlined the anime in such a way that it was very enjoyable to play through.
Yeah. It was just I'm I'm so frustrated. Like I'm so frustrated that we don't have, you know, it sucks that I have to say this and it sucks that this is true, but there's times in Xenoverse where like I'm having way more fun than I've ever had in Kakarot. Like, you know, there's times in Xenoverse where I'm having more fun than I had in Sparking Zero. Like that hurts. Like that Xenoverse
Yeah,
is still so good and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be a pretty game. It's just more enjoyable. Like look at the story stuff they put in Xenoverse. They put so much creative stuff in Xenoverse.
yeah, there's a lot,
Like
and it's still
Goku
going.
going Ultra Instinct exactly in the Boo arc. Like the Boo saga. Like Goku going Ultra Instinct in the Boo saga cuz Few gave him too much power, right? Like buffed him and he nuked Boo immediately. And then he's like, I'm sorry. The battle wasn't supposed to end this way. You know, like even Goku knew that he was broken, which is crazy because, you know, but Daima not having an arena in Sparking Zero, like there's so much stuff in Daima to make arenas off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I at first when they announced season pass, I was like, okay, we're probably gonna get um the city from superhero. We're probably gonna get
Dude, yeah, like
we're
what?
probably gonna get like the
Red Ribbon.
yeah the Red Ribbon headquarters, and I thought we were gonna get some sort of Demon Realm stage in with the first Diamond Pack, but
We don't even have hell, by the way.
yeah, which is nuts. Um, it's such a missed opportunity. Like I, I feel like they
I
just
don't
put way too much. They're putting a lot of effort in the right places, but there's just a lot lacking as well. And I also mentioned this in the Bleach Rebirth of Souls review I did because I thought the story mode in that game was absolutely excellent. It had so many stages, so many moments. That experience
yeah.
was way more content rich in the right ways. And I wish Bandai Namco took that same approach with Sparking Zero. Like it's night and day.
It's sad.
It's really night and day. Like if you were to play story mode of Bleach Rebirth for Souls like all the way through, it it's it it complements the anime so well because you just play through all the biggest moments, as they happen, with like
Right.
so many minor sort of funny things in between that happen in the anime as well. So it feels like it's like a interactive rewatch in a way without the filler stuff. And I sort of wish Sparking Zero took that, put the what ifs on top of that, and just went crazy.
Yeah, they missed. I mean, it's a huge missed opportunity because the game has been out, you know, and we've practically forgotten about it. We're mentioning it because we're talking about multiplayer games that put too much focus on the multiplayer and
Yeah,
not enough on the story. You know, like Raging Blast was the first kind of, you know, dive into us losing more intricate story single player modes. Like I went back and played a lot of Raging Blast cuz it's so good.
yeah.
But like Raging Blast doesn't have enough single player stuff. You know, it's not like Tenkaichi. The reason why people don't talk about it in the same vein as Tenkaichi 3 is because Tenkaichi 3 had a lot of single player stuff to do. Most people didn't have the Wii version with online. Most people weren't playing online. Even most people weren't even playing with their homies.
I have the
You
Wii.
know, like
I
it was
actually
just
have the Wii version. It's somewhere, but that's the one that I played,
yeah.
and I loved it.
No, it's a great like that version is great.
Yeah,
Like but I'm saying like a lot of people had a PS2. The Wii was obviously a huge console. But like when we think about people talking about Budokai Tenkaichi 3, like we think about an era where most of the stuff they're talking about was single player,
yeah,
you know? Like I mean, when people talk about Tenkaichi 3, it's single player content. It's never like, "Oh man, the multiplayer modes were so good." Like
either
it's
that or
always about the single player.
local play. Just
Yeah, just hanging it out with your homies. Like beating your homies in split screen and then they're like, "Oh, we don't got split screen, but we only got it for the hyperbolic time chamber." And I'm like, "What?" Like, I mean,
yeah. That was such a
you're missing
miss.
the plot, brother.
That was such a
Like,
miss, bro.
that doesn't even make sense to me, dude. Like, it's a huge miss. It's so stupid. I don't understand how these companies continuously make these levels. I don't understand how these companies continuously make these types of mistakes. Like, when they have everything at their disposal, like they could easily, anybody in the studio could easily just Google, especially with AI. Like they could just easily Google, hey, what makes people really excited about? Why are people so interested in this? Or, why are people why do people like Tenkaichi 3 so much? And the results of that would be what you need to put in the next game. Like that, it's so simple. Like why not do what we want you to do? Why do what you want to do and fail?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, you had the initial sales, but
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just like wanting to add to that. It's like they have the blueprint already, which was Tenkaichi 3. They really just needed to like modernize it and then add the other things that people want, like ranked player matches, also are all sorts of things that are found in, modern day anime and fighting games. You know, just build off of that. And it feels like
Yeah.
again, what Bandai Namco unfortunately did is they kind of started from scratch, but by doing that, they couldn't, make a strong enough foundation that would get people invested for a long time. And it sucks because
Yeah,
like
people were saying
you
this was
see
the
it right
replacement of
now.
Xenoverse.
Yeah, like you see it right now. Like, yeah, that hype is not really there anymore. It's not, unfortunately.
It's
Like
gone.
I wanted that to happen. Like you remember this, right? Like getting these huge trailers like every 2 weeks or so, just revealing all
Yeah,
these
for Sparking
characters.
Zero.
Yeah, and
It was so hype.
it was
It was
amazing.
so
Like
hype.
I couldn't believe like just what we were seeing at that time. And now it's like because the foundation of this game, which is, the single player and the multiplayer, they're both not in the ideal state they should be. And that just brings
Correct.
down the entire game so much to the point where there's only 1,000 concurrent on Steam. The DLC is adding the characters people want, but again, it's not enough. Like there needs to be more soul to this game. It needs to have a lot of things that its predecessors had, and unfortunately, it's just not there.
No, not in the slightest. Like, there's so much missing. It's really the soul, like you're right. Soul. There's some soul missing from this game. Like, seriously. Like when Xenoverse would have DLCs, like I remember like I didn't even play the game for a long time. I mean, I had played it when it first came out, but I had taken a huge break from Xenoverse, like many, many, many years, right? And I remember watching like Syriax, like he was the ultimate Xenoverse YouTuber for many years. Like he was the king of Xenoverse 2 content, especially when Xenoverse 2 was like, post 2018, like he was cooking. Like he was doing videos with Rhyme Style. They had the legendary box of battles. I mean, there was a lot going on, and I was watching all of it. Like he had all these little, one of the best content creators for Dragon Ball, period. Like he had all of these unique ideas for Xenoverse, right? Like he had just, these scene he would do like, I'm playing as a Namekian, but I'm only going to train my character entirely on Planet Namek, right? Like I'm only going to do Planet Namek exclusive stuff, and I'm only going to do this, and I'm going to try to become like top 10 ranked in the game. And it was such a big series that like Bandai Namco was like watching it, you know what I'm saying? And they would talk about it on their Twitter. And he would do these things that he was inspired by RuneScape. He was like, these challenge runs where like you make a character and you restrict yourself and you play the game restricted. That's why, Kingdom Hearts critical mode, level 1 runs are so popular. That's why, certain speed runs are so popular, or like having those restrictions, like that makes content. There's not like any content coming out for Sparking Zero. Like there's nothing really to do in that game that's like really exciting. Like you can't make the game exciting to watch, in my opinion. Like Xenoverse was really exciting to watch for me. Like, and I didn't have as much fun playing it, but consuming it, like as a, dude on YouTube throwing popcorn and candy and soda back, like that's different. Like, I don't know. I think it's a better content form. Xenoverse 2 was a way better content form than Sparking Zero was. And I think it's important for your game to be good enough to have content revolving around it in some shape or form. If you can't get content creators to make content about your game, you can be sure nobody's playing it. You know, like
Right, like
I feel like that's a huge aspect that people miss out on and don't talk about.
yeah, like I remember, like I do follow a lot of uh, you know, people who make content around Dragon Ball games and anime games, and honestly, like there's just no
Mhm.
buzz around Sparking Zero at all. Like there's just none.
They're not playing it. I feel like people were playing Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles for longer. You know what
Which
I
is
mean? Like
crazy, which is just crazy to say. Like it's crazy, dude. Just looking back at that.
yeah.
And also like they did put a lot of good effort in Sparking Zero, especially like with like the
Hmm.
attention to detail on things. But it just felt like they didn't
The
put it.
graphics are real gorgeous.
Yeah, they just didn't put it in the right areas when it comes to content. And
Yeah, they
also,
didn't.
like I thought there was going to be like a lot more free updates for this game. Like I thought we were going to see like, hey, like here's a new costume for like this character, or hey, here's like a cool event on like a different stage or something. Like I thought they were going to take not like Xenoverse 2, right? because that is like
Hmm.
a live that is a live game and it evolves over time. But I thought we were going to get all similar content releases in terms of updates, and that just never happened either. Like we had like that legendary face-off mode like a couple of times, and
Yeah,
that was it. I really thought we were gonna get a lot more than that, but that didn't happen. Like
it
I
sucks.
remember we were talking just about we were just theorizing about all the things they could add to this game over time, and we haven't seen that at all, other than DLC. And even then, the DLC is not doing too much other than just adding the characters that people have wanted. But there need to be more done.
I agree. And it's crazy that this is the Sparking Zero episode of Weaponized, but we talked about a lot. I mean, this is really just kind of covering, multiplayer and, things that how everything is kind of deteriorated. And, every game that's multiplayer, I don't necessarily want to just play multiplayer all day long.
Yeah,
And I think it is important for a game to be evergreen, but like they're not, putting their eggs in the correct basket. Like they're just in the wrong. They're on the floor. Like they're laying out on the grass. Like the eggs are not in the basket, in my opinion, for Sparking Zero. Like that game, I think, I don't think they're paying attention at all, to be honest.
either
Like I feel like Bandai Namco is not paying attention at all.
either that or they picked some good X. They just didn't pick the whole lot of them. Like
No,
there
right.
needed to be
Exactly.
more, and that's
Yeah.
the one thing I'd kind of take away from the conversation of like all these multiplayer games for franchises that did have strong single player components is that those components are very rooted into the identity of these franchises. And I
Yeah.
feel like, going back to like Battlefront, like that franchise is so big and its multiplayer component is so established that it kind of, gets away with it because again, even though I kind of want those single player components to be back, the multiplayer is just so good. Like it was executed,
It is.
even though it wasn't as good in the beginning, it became ideal. And unfortunately, compared to like a lot of these Bandai Namco anime games, that is like a far cry. You can't like it's crazy how it's so lackluster in Sparking Zero and also like in Bleach, Rebirth of Souls, it's like where is that ranked mode? Where is it? Like
Dude, that's ridiculous. Dude, that's just so ridiculous. That's so frustrating. I don't understand how they don't have that in the game. Bro, like we are running out of time. Like, there's a clock ticking for the game's like relevancy. No offense. I mean, there's a clock that's ticking. These are games that, this game doesn't even have a viewable concurrent player count on Steam right now. Like
by the way, there is a season
they
pass and we know nothing about what's the characters.
we don't even know what's in it. Oh, we literally don't. I just clicked on it.
Yeah, we don't.
Playable character 1, playable character 2, playable character 3, playable character 4. 7-day early access for DLC characters. Dog, there is no way.
Yeah, it's been months, man. It this is the sort of structure that Bandai Namco needs to get out of because it's not working. Yeah, we're getting really good games, but you know, the interest is kind of dying off because
Right,
these
they're
games
not
are missing.
evergreen. None of these games are evergreen.
Yeah, they're missing what people need. What it's missing the things that make them evergreen.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm like looking at not Thousand Year Blood War. I was just looking at one of the DLCs.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Rebirth of Souls, and I'm just like, who is actually playing this game right now? I mean, like at this very moment. You know, the story mode, it looks really freaking good. But
Yeah, like I
like
said, it's amazing.
that ranked is very important. Like I think like ranked gives people a reason to hop on,
Right.
you know, and like actually play the multiplayer. Like obviously you can have fun just whooping people, but like having something to achieve is a
Yes.
completely different thing.
It's very
You
important to
know,
have
so
an
it's like
incentive there to keep people going. Because
yeah,
the reason people still
this is
play
crazy.
Street Fighter and Tekken, like that ranked mode is so key.
And a lot of these people in the comments, oh, a lot of the people in the Steam reviews have hundreds of hours in the game. Like 100 hours,
Yeah,
101 hours, 80 hours, 113 hours.
yeah, and
Like
I mentioned this
there's
in the review
clearly
as well.
something,
There's a
there's a
lot of
lot to
content.
do.
Yeah, because there's the single player story mode. There's also you can also unlock like a survival mode um, with different difficulty tiers as well. So there is a lot of content there. Honestly, I'd say that game has more of these sort of like Budokai Tenkaichi elements to it than even Sparking Zero does, which is
Right.
funny to say because wow, that's so weird. But
That is
I do
weird.
think the developers did a really good job with the single player content in Bleach. It's just
Yeah.
they had that ranked missing. Like there's that caveat, that monkey's paw that that you know
Always.
that always seems to happen with these releases somehow.
It sucks.
Yeah,
It really
you
sucks.
you
And
can definitely
I
spend 100 hours in that game for sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, you can definitely spend 100 hours in Bleach, no problem, because there's just so much to do.
Yeah, I need to I'll probably pick it up when it goes on sale. I was planning on pre-ordering it when, you know, before the game came out, obviously.
Yeah,
That's the only time to pre-order a game. But I mean, like I was planning on pre-ordering it, but I was like, you know, there was just other stuff happening. Oh my god, I gotta buy I gotta pre-order Night Rain. Jesus Christ. Stellar Blade. What the heck?
a busy summer is sneaking up, man. I guess
It is.
we
It's
can
gonna be
definitely end
busy.
it off with some summer talk. You know,
Yeah.
Summer Game Fest coming up. That's gonna be huge. Switch 2 launch, and also the rumors of that eventual June Nintendo Direct, which is probably going to be very big. A lot of rumors are saying it might be like a week or two right after Switch 2 launch, so happening very soon. Like
Yeah.
just thinking about it now, we're only like what like we're only 2 weeks away from launch. So if the rumors are true, maybe at most 4 weeks from now, which is crazy.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe this. Is all of the graphical upgrades like day zero?
The
Like are all the graphical upgrades day zero?
for the
Like if
Nintendo
I
Switch.
hopped on the Switch 2, yeah, if
Mhm.
I hopped on the Switch 2 and it was like, you know, I hopped on Scarlet and Violet, would those games look for would they be in 4K like from off the rip? Like
Oh, those updates, yeah.
would that be like day zero?
If you
Okay.
read the page
Mm-hmm.
for the free upgrades for all those games like Arms and stuff, that is day one. So that will be ready.
Oh
Yeah, yeah, dude. This launch
yes.
is big. Like when you really think about it, because we're getting like a bunch of third-party games like Cyberpunk. We're getting Mario Kart, which is the big system seller type of game, and everything coming forward, whether it's backwards compatibility or all these free upgrades that are gonna make these games like even better. Like think about Super Mario Odyssey, for instance. That's going to be upscaled probably, and it's going to have
Mm-hmm.
HDR. So that game is going to look incredible.
Dude, it's so crazy to think about Mario being that pretty, you know. But Mario's never been ugly. It's just crazy to think that like we're getting Nintendo Switch games that are gonna be like actually crispy, dude.
yeah, like we're gonna have the features that we think about like on PC and stuff. Like we're getting sort of like we're seeing Nintendo actually put their focus in a lot of frame rates, visuals, things like that that we typically don't really associate with Nintendo historically when it comes to their consoles. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, that literally is exactly. I mean, I was getting a in my Switch video,
Yeah.
the one that I uploaded many weeks ago. I was talking about this very thing where like Nintendo was, they were going against the grain and they weren't doing what Sony and Microsoft were doing. They weren't chasing graphics. They weren't chasing, fidelity. They weren't chasing horsepower. And I wouldn't even say they're chasing it now, but this is the time where, Nintendo is saying, "Hey, this is mostly a more powerful console." You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it does have the mouse, it does have, the camera and the video chat, voice chat features, but the Switch 2 is mostly a graphical leap, right?
Oh yeah, it's
It is
huge.
the same platform, but it's much better, right?
Yes.
Because what is there to upgrade? Like from the Switch, no glaze. Like, what is there to upgrade besides the graphics,
Yeah, like
right?
the
And they can add a few gimmicks here and there, but like, yeah,
yeah, like the internals, much better hardware
of
now
course.
with Ampere. Like it's such a big leap. Like
Yep.
even
Way better microarchitecture.
yes, it's so much better. Like it's leaps and bounds better than Switch 1, and it makes games like Cyberpunk, look insanely good. Like like it's time to have that conversation where I'm sorry Steam Deck fans, but you're gonna have
Oh,
to take an L with this one because dude, like we already um got those 4K screenshots of remake Intergrade, right? And then this
yes.
footage of Cyberpunk
That looks like the PS5.
yeah, and then this footage of Cyberpunk in 4K, running on Switch 2 is like crazy. Like obviously it's DLSS and
Yeah, 100%.
it's upscaled onto a 4K display, but like just playing that is going to be wild, and it just looks so
I
good.
can't believe that that looks that good on that. Bro, you know what? Ubisoft, this is a good opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Where are your games on the Switch? Because I was just going back to Watch Dogs 2 recently.
Mm,
One of my favorite Ubisoft
I
games,
love that
Watch
game.
Dogs 2.
Yeah, I love that game.
It's so good. Oh my god. Watch Dogs 2 and Big Hero 6, they make San Francisco, even though it's San Francisco, they make it look good, but I'm never going there physically because I know I'm going to lose something. Something's going to be taken from me. So,
Oh man.
yeah. I mean, where is Watch Dogs 2, which actually still looks really good visually? I mean, the graphics are still pretty good. Where are games like that on the Switch? I mean, that's another opportunity for Ubisoft to sell those games, which would sell. I think they would sell.
Well, we are getting Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
and if
I forgot
if
about that
you
game,
if you
to be honest.
remember, this game has pre-baked ray tracing. So like this game can't run without this feature. Like it's embedded
Right.
in the engine itself. So the fact that that is even running on Switch 2 is very impressive. It's
Yeah.
only a matter of time before we start getting some big Ubisoft games. I already saw rumors and sort of things about Shadows showing up at some point. Um, no idea about Watch Dogs. I feel like that franchise is kind of dormant right now, even though I feel like
Nog.
a new entry would be so good, especially while like
Yeah,
people are
Legion was
waiting.
not what we wanted.
Yeah, especially like while people are waiting for like GTA 6. I feel like that a new Watch Dogs would slide in sort of perfectly before that. GTA 6 just takes off and does astronomical numbers.
Of course. I think Ubisoft wanted to have their own GTA with Watch Dogs.
Yeah,
And I think like, you know, I think the games went the right direction. They still sold a lot of copies. I mean, I think Watch Dogs 2 sold 10 million. So it was like it still sold more copies than even a lot of Sony first parties. So it's like there's Sony first parties that even haven't even sold as much as Watch Dogs 2, and Ubisoft didn't consider that to be a huge success for some reason.
Which is crazy.
Like
I don't get that at
that's
all.
wild. It doesn't even make sense. Like, and it's crazy because like people act like that game never came out, and yet every time I talk about it, somebody tells me that they've played it. You know, and it's like,
That was like the last.
what is happening?
That was like the last Ubisoft game I like went out of my way to pre-order because I did like Watch Dogs 1 a lot, even though it wasn't like what it was advertised to
Oh,
be
bro,
in the very
it's the
beginning.
story, dude.
Yeah, the
I
story.
love the plot of that game.
Yeah, but also the gameplay itself, which is so much better in 2.
Oh my god, two's gameplay is some of the best like sandbox gameplay ever.
Yeah, it was
Like,
so good.
dude, it's so clean, and it's so immersive. Like that game is really like detailed and elaborate, and there's just so much going on. Like Watch Dogs is like when Cyberpunk first came out before it was the game that it is now,
Hmm.
because you can do kind of the stuff in Watch Cyberpunk. Honestly, bro, I'm gonna say this: Cyberpunk is like Fallout 4 and Watch Dogs 2 had a baby. That's like how that game plays, pretty much.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you're hacking stuff, you're shooting stuff. It's an RPG, but like you also can like hack. Like it's, you have that, but the RPG mechanics in Cyberpunk 2077 are like dwarfing Fallout 4 specifically.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially nowadays, because like that game has been updated to Kingdom Come, and on the Switch, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, do people not understand how big that game is? Phantom Liberty was really successful. And that was like post, kind of some fatigue, but also we had seen the anime, and the anime that was anime of the everything for like the decade. You know what I'm saying? Like Edge Runners was like unbelievable.
Yes.
That was one of the biggest 10 episode animes to ever exist, pretty much.
Yeah, it was great.
Like, you thought Devilman Crybaby was moderately popular? Trust me, nothing touched the popularity of Edge Runners. Like, that literally, Lucy is a character in Guilty Gear. Like, it's
Yeah, that's
just,
crazy to think
that's
about.
from an anime of a game. Like, you know what I mean? That's from an anime of a Polish game of a black man's story. Like,
There's so many layers to that collab. It's crazy to think about. But also,
yeah,
like going back to Cyberpunk on Switch 2, I feel like it's a huge deal. I just think
massive.
a lot of people were so skeptical about it running. Like I remember just looking at reactions and stuff from the initial Nintendo Direct. People were like, "Oh, this is gonna make the Switch 2 explode." Oh, or this might not run as well, you know? Like people had that
The Switch to explode is crazy. No, you
people
already
had
know, like,
people had that sort of like preconceived notion that this is a Switch, so it just has to be weak enough to where the game is kind of gimped in a way. But that's not the case really. Like this game is running and looking so good, and it's just going to be optimized even more over time most likely. And
dude, yeah. Oh my god.
yeah, this game is like the showcase for Switch 2. Like it's only going to get better from here as well because again, um this is just the beginning of the generation. We're going to see developers push the hardware even further because again, this console supports Unreal Engine 5 and
Yeah,
yeah, developers are going to be cracking the code and just doing all sorts of crazy things with this console. We also see it with
yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy as well. Like these games are
A
just looking,
freakishly good looking game, by the way.
yeah,
Like, I
1440p,
mean,
running at 1440p.
wow.
It's
That's
crazy.
just so. That's nuts, dude. That's just nuts. Like, people are not bro. People are not fathoming the Switch 2's power. They're not. This is just like a whole Switch Point episode. People are not fathoming the Switch 2's power, bro. Back on Cyberpunk for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk is literally like Crisis. Like that's like the Crisis of today.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
Like people talk about Cyberpunk as if like in memes, like there's memes and like all sorts of like YouTube shorts and TikToks and like million 100 million view TikToks where like somebody's talking about Cyberpunk blowing up their computer. Like there's this one Jaden Williams skit where he's like, talking mess to his PC
Yeah.
that he's like bullying with a bunch of like he's like, I want you to what is it? Like I want you to like run AI prompts and play Cyberpunk 2077 4K with patch tracing, and like the PC is like represented. It's a human like representing the PC, and he's like sweating, and he's like, no, no, and it's like the fact that the joke is like that the main part of the joke is that he's talking to his PC, and the the one thing that scared the PC was that Cyberpunk was running with path tracing on. Now, Switch 2, that's not running Cyberpunk on path tracing, but I mean, it still looks incredible.
This console's going to be taking over Japan when it comes out. Like, boom, millions of
Oh,
units.
100%.
Um, Also, it's like it's gotten to the point where it's powerful enough to run a lot of the games people want on it. So there is a discussion to be had about how Xbox factors into this as well, because they're going to eventually, bring a lot of games over to Switch 2, and
Yeah,
they're going to be running well.
there
Um,
needs to be a dialogue about Halo and Gears on Switch.
oh,
Like there needs to be a dialogue.
dude, I can already imagine Gears of War Reloaded coming to Switch 2 at some point.
Oh my god.
And
The prequel that everybody's really hyped about.
oh, E-Day,
Yeah, E-Day.
E-Day. Oh wow,
That looks nuts.
yeah. I'm I'm over the moon because I grew up on Gears of War. Uh, I
Yeah.
even had the Gears of War 3 console, for the 360 limited
Oh, I
edition
had
one.
it too, bro. You talking about the red one?
Yeah, that came with the
Uh-huh.
I think it came with two controllers actually. Yeah, I think it did. It was really big when it came out, and
Yeah.
I love that console. I wish it worked, but you know,
Those things don't.
yeah.
I'm trying not to curse. Those things don't work, bro. Like, dude, I had so many 360s. Bro, when I was in college, I bought all of my friends' 360s just because like they were selling them for like 20 bucks a pop. And my friend had a brand new, never opened like Xbox 360 arcade that like
Oh,
I don't know what I did with it.
the
It
sleek
was
white
like,
model.
dude, and this was in the sleek white mod, yeah. And it was the very first, like I'm talking about, like, it still had the blades on it when I turned it on.
Yeah, yeah, I had
You
that one
know,
as well, the 60 gigabyte one.
yeah. I bought it from him for 20 bucks in 2014. And
Wow,
he had like never opened it.
that's crazy.
And yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't know what to do with this thing. I'm like, I'll give you 20 bucks for it. He's like, yeah, you know? And then he had an Elite that was Modern Warfare 3.
Hmm.
Did they have like a Modern Warfare? Did they have a
Yeah, there
Modern
was
Warfare
one.
version of
Yeah, there was one for Modern Warfare 2.
3? Was it 2? Yeah, I think it might have been 2.
Yeah,
Hold on. Yeah, no, Modern Warfare 3 was a slim.
yeah, it was slim.
That was a slim Xbox 360, sorry. Um Oh, yeah, yeah. I got that one
Hmm.
from him, the Modern Warfare 2 one.
Right.
And then I don't have any of them anymore. And then I had the Halo 3 Xbox 360.
Mm.
Yeah, the freaking one with the orange disk drive and the orange accents on the hard drive. I had that too.
Wow.
I was buying them off of him. He just like had all these like 360s, and I was like buying them for like a couple. I think I got like 3 of them for like $100. And I fixed the Halo 3 one that because 2 of them had a red ring, and he had never used the arcade one. And the arcade one didn't even have an HDMI on it. It was just like the component cables.
Oh, dang.
Like it didn't even have an HDMI port.
I remember that. Yeah, those were like the early run. Like,
Super early.
yeah, I think like they phased those out around like 2007 or something, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. Uh, I always wanted the Black Elite. console, but I just never got it. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy because looking back at it now, it's the consoles were always in abundance, but like the Elite one was always the one that people got, so you can never really find
yeah.
it.
The elite one was the one that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I loved the way that the console looked. I still do.
Hmm.
I still love the way it looks. I love the shape of it. I think the Slim looked decent, but it never really hit that same, man, it never hit the same as the original Elite with the like detachable gigantic hard drive on the top. Like the way that the faceplate you could take it off. They had the FF13 faceplate,
Yes. Yes.
which there's one in a cabinet at my mom and pop shop that's like 2 minutes down the street.
No, that's
Like
super
they
cool.
have, obviously Rule of Rose, and they have like all these Star Ocean games,
Mm.
and they have this big cabinet full of just all of the rarest like Square Enix stuff, and nobody can afford it because they charge like above market for it. That's how they stay open.
Yeah.
Is like they charge like pretty much market price for everything. So like you can't go on eBay and find anything. Um, you can't go on eBay. People think they can just go into mom and pop, and they ex- people go into mom and pop expecting the mom and pop to not know what their games cost, when the mom and
Right.
pops are the ones that know the most
Their
about
business.
how much the games cost. Yeah, it's their whole business model.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would walk in there and see games that are like, I mean, the 3DSs are like $600. You know,
Yeah.
like you're just not gonna get a 3DS for less than $300 unless it's like really used. Like it's crazy to think that it's a console that circulated in the millions of units, in the tens of millions of units, and you can't get like a fresh 3DS anymore, like without paying like a bundle of money, and it's always going to be used. You're just not going to get one brand new in the box.
Yeah, you just
I
gotta
felt
hope
like an
someone
idiot.
maintained it well, or did like a
Yeah,
refurbishment.
exactly, because those are the consoles that people are holding and like scraping with the stylus, and like it's not like a desktop type of console where like you know you can be sure that the person probably only picked it up a couple of times, right? Like
Mhm.
with the Switch, that's a console that you buy it used, you're gonna have some wear and tear on it for sure. If you're dealing with somebody who's really throwing that thing around, the more you get used to something that you buy, the less you take care of it.
Yeah.
Right now, my MacBook Pro is like really shiny and really new. Like I'm sure in like 2 or 3 years, it's not gonna look like that, you know. But like that, it happens. You people have a console for a while and they start throwing it around, or some people don't have the same kind of like um they don't care as much about the aesthetic
Right.
of the chassis of the console they're playing on. I used to really care a little too much. It kind of drove
I,
me
I
crazy.
feel like if you get into like PC building, that's when it like clicks and you know how to
Hmm.
like take care of all these things. Because I remember like
Yeah.
I would just let my console sit there, as a kid, even in my teens. But like once I started to like build PCs and like, clean it every like other month or so, um, I just got in the habit of doing that for like all of my electronics, and
Wow.
it
Yeah,
helps. It helps. Uh,
it does.
Unfortunately, I didn't do that really with my Switch. Well, actually, I kind of did.
Hmm.
Like, I kind of did take a lot of good care of my Switch. Um, but unfortunately, my original launch day Switch just died. It just died on me while I was this was back when I was
That's
reviewing
tragic, bro.
that it was back when I was reviewing Persona 4 Golden, like the re-release for it. Like I was just like
Mm.
playing a dungeon, early in the game, and the fan just started spinning like crazy, overheated, and then that was it. But
Yeah.
you know, it was a blessing in disguise almost, because like that's what prompted me to get the OLED one. And I was like, wow, like
The
games look
OLED one's
so
so
good.
gorgeous and the console just feels so much better in the hand.
Yeah, even looking at like like the Switch 2 like experience, sort of like reactions, people like recording their experiences playing it in handheld mode. Even though that screen's not OLED, it looks really, really good on Switch 2.
It does. And they'll have an OLED model eventually,
Yeah, there was that.
and we'll buy
Yeah, there was that
that.
that report.
Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung is really pushing for it. I mean, they know it's gonna be such a huge launch for the Switch 2 right now. So they're helping out with producing more systems because Nintendo's trying to hit that 20 million mark by March, which is insane. Like if it hits that, this is like the easily like fastest selling console of all time sort of things, which is insane to think about because the Switch 1 is already heading in that direction. So Nintendo's probably going to be right back at it, breaking sales records and things. But yeah, Samsung
Samsung,
getting on that is big. Um,
it used to be the LG. You get the LG OLED, and it cost $1 trillion, and people still get them. But like Samsung, my Odyssey Neo has been an incredible monitor. So I think they'll do great with the Switch, and I think they need to hop on it. That's like,
oh, I mean,
you know,
no question. I mean, you got again thinking back on it because they did. I'm pretty sure they did manufacture that 8 nanometer process for Ampere,
they
so
did.
they're doing it again, and this is their expertise. So they're absolutely going to be huge in producing all these Switch 2 units and then that eventual OLED.
Crazy how much Samsung's really doing. People are like, I feel like Samsung's like
Oh,
really doing a lot.
this is actually really good for competition as well because it's not, you know, everything's not running through TSMC.
like
Um,
like who did the process for the 40 series? I mean, I don't know.
I would like to say it was back to TSMC, but
Yeah, it's TSMC 5 nanometer.
yeah, yeah, they went right back to that. I think it was because Ampere was just a unique case. It was around that shortage, if if I recall
Yeah,
correctly. That was a big thing.
I remember that. 30 series was a huge launch. 40 series was big too, but I have a 40 series, so I mean the 50 series has been Nvidia is always gonna have people buying their, like, even if you don't see it,
Yeah.
like people are buying those GPUs like no tomorrow. I mean, it's one of the only things that's constantly sold out for months on end. Like, GPUs have multiple use cases outside of video games. People are buying them for multiple reasons. You know,
Yeah.
there's like an actual real world value to having a graphics card that powerful.
Yeah, like say for
Guys,
instance,
give
my
Nvidia credit.
yeah, I mean, even though Nvidia's, doing some less than desirable things right now when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
50 series. I mean, they've done so much and their work on Ampere is a huge boon to Nintendo where we're going to be getting a
Yeah,
lot of optimizations and things over time, I imagine. Especially with like an OLED and a revision. Like I can definitely see them cranking out even more power, probably a higher overclock uh, on the Switch 2 eventually. Because that did happen with Switch 1 where the clock sort of raised up over time to get a little bit more performance out of it for certain games. And
yeah.
it's going to be big for Switch 2. I mean, the Switch 2 specs are already very impressive, but getting even more out of that is going to be awesome.
I can't wait. Like,
Only 2 weeks.
I literally can't wait, dude. 2 weeks and we're in it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
2 weeks. Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have all the accessories. I hope if I get my hands on, bro, I'm ready. I gotta get my hands on that. Once I get my hands on that, bro, I'm getting all the accessories. Y'all can bet your tails that I will be spending a lot of money
Oh,
on the Nintendo Switch
I
too.
I can't say much more, but I'll just let you know there's going to be a lot of good accessories for Switch 2. Uh,
Yep, that's true. That's true.
yeah,
Stay tuned? Question mark.
yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned. There's gonna be a lot.
Yep.
There's gonna be a lot. Um, and just looking forward again, like 2 episodes from now, we'll have Switch 2.
Oh my
That's
god.
that's huge. That's really
We'll have
big.
to do a collaborative Switch point with
Yes.
more than just two people, because like that'll be a big episode.
Yeah, we'll have
Um,
we got multiple staff members getting Switch 2, so that huge.
100%. Like that's gonna be a huge, huge, huge console like day. That's gonna be a huge day for Final Weapon. So we need that.
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna have to stay tuned, and honestly, like I'm super excited. I'm dreading the work a little bit, but that comes with the territory, and again, it's gonna be super exciting. There's gonna be so many games to just test, and wow, like this is definitely one of the most hyped console launches in recent memory for me. Like it's been a very long time since I was like super hyped for a console. I'd say Switch 1 launch and PS4 launch were up there, but this one is probably superseding those two. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those weeks where we kind of sort of just look back at a lot of things, like Battlefront and
Hmm.
Sparking Zero. What came as we're waiting for Switch 2, and things are only going to get more exciting from here. Again,
Yeah,
console launches are so big, and we sort of lose track of how big they can be since there's so many years in between them now. Like Switch Switch 1 lasted like what, like 8 years? It's crazy to
yeah,
think.
it did.
Like I remember pre-launch, people thought it was only gonna last like a few years because you know people thought it was gonna go in the route of like other handhelds, lasting like 3 to 4 years before moving on to the next thing. But yeah, it's I'm just counting down the days. Just counting down the days to Switch
Dude,
2.
I mean, it's like Christmas is coming,
Yeah.
but you're a kid again, and Christmas actually is important and matters. Well, I mean, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. For all things, everything, check us out at finalweapon.net or follow us on our Twitter at FNLWPN. Subscribe, like, comment, do what you do, and I'll see you guys next time.
Peace.